I've got a question for you. This is also a little bit of an introspection for myself as well. This isn't rhetorical. I don't have the answer. What's the cool part of working out? What's really the cool part for you? What's the part that you say, this is the point, right? Where it's you see someone who exhibits this trait, and either they're a crazy high-level dude and you're looking up to him, or it's like a guy of similar age, stature, development, or whatever to you, and you say, this guy's cool. Me and this guy could be tight. Oh, goodness. Excuse me. But yeah, it's like, I don't think the answer is so explainable. I don't think it's, no. Of course it's explainable, but I don't think it's so consistent across the board for, everybody as an individual. Because, everybody's got different kind of motivations, right? Maybe your thing is purely, look, I want to look big, I want to be lean, I want to have abs, I want to look the part, and that's it. I don't care about the training. Some guys don't even like I hear this way too much. It's essentially the take of, dude, I don't even like working out. Working out freaking hurts. I'm just sweating. Like, I want to be big, but I don't even want to work out, And I guess that's just their motivation. So, I can't dog on somebody. If they're still working out, then in a roundabout way, I guess they still want to. But it's like, what's the point? Where's that end motivation? Because for me, I feel like I'm very excitable from the aspect of the training itself, right? The actual lift, the actual portion of physical exertion in the gym, because there's just nothing else like it. There is no other, and I'm not saying it has to be working out. It could really just be anything physical, but there's just nothing else in a regular guy's day that actually makes them use their body in that maximized force, 100%, like as much as they can do kind of system. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's very mundane. Like, unless you're doing some kind of specific skill type job or whatever, it's very very sedentary. And this really sucks just in general, not even on like a personal note basis. But it's like, how many people never break a sweat? What's the average time period for the average American to not sweat at all from any physical exertion? Months? Years? Probably not years, but months. And it's like, do you forget the fact that you're alive and that you're running around in this freaking, body that demands at least a little bit of physical activity to keep moving and just like, feel how you want it to feel? And, for some, they don't care. Like, the idea of working out, like, people know that it's something they should do, but they just don't have that. It doesn't click for them that it's something that they might want to do. And, to that, I guess they're waiting for that eureka moment where they actually start getting amped up and excited about it. But, yeah, I think it's probably, in a way, all-encompassing. I think if I had to pick one aspect of working out indefinitely, where all of my enjoyment from every other part gets just set to zero, I'd probably have to prioritize the actual in the gym lifting section. Everything else really just ends up being a freaking side byproduct of that anyway. And then, obviously it's crazy being pumped. It's cool walking around knowing you're a bulked up 260 pounder, whatever, or, whatever your bulked up weight is. But for me, that actual in the gym session, that's the fun part. I'm not I definitely look forward to seeing myself at different stages of progression, fully bulked, lean, cut up, whatever. But, the real fun part, that's actually in the gym. So, just something to think about. So the fun part, at least tonight, is about to happen with some back. So last time I hit back in here, it was a little bit more lower lat focused, pull downs, kind of just lat focused, elbows tucked, rows, and a little bit of pullovers. So it was essentially all lats. So I think today I might change it up a touch and try to do a little bit more rows, a little bit more of a row focused day. But that's something to be seen. That's I guess we'll just have to see how that ends up. So I can almost guarantee that there's going to be nobody in here. 7:30 on a Friday. Yeah, 7:30 on a Friday should be dead. You know, but the people who would be in here are probably killers, at least in some degree or another, because they're going to get after it on a Friday night when they could be doing anything else or nothing, which still counts as anything else, right? So I guess we'll just have to find out. But yeah, in terms of the actual specifics, I think I'll just have to decide once I get in there. You know, feel how everything feels, get warm, and whatever movement number one will end up being, I think it'll just end up coming to me once we actually get started. So, like no more talking, let's get in there. It's been a little while since I've hit some bent over barbell rows. Definitely, at least in terms of heavy sets, a little bit more of a heft kind of stimulus, right? I mean, I'm talking, the difficulty of a leg press isn't it's a squeezing burn, right? It's just freaking hard. So similar here. My main concern is keeping my back decently straight and braced, and then just going nuts. So let's see if I still got it. Oh my gosh. That's way too heavy. What the hell am I doing? Let's do a cable row. That was a good opener, but yeah, that's not necessary right now. Oh. Let's span these for a little bit. Whoa. Okay. I think let's move on from those. Yeah, but those were solid. That's a good opening 4. After just one feeler rep of that, well, I guess of this kind of half pull down, half row D handle setup, I do this a lot. This certainly isn't a new movement. Yeah. All right, well, let's not say that yet. I was about to say we'll see how the lift feels. Let's get this set done first. I don't want to get in the headspace of thinking like, ooh, when's the workout over? I never want this shit to end. There. Okay. One more of those. Okay. Now I gotta decide if I need to do one more set or pose down. Let me think for a second. All right. Yeah, there we go. So that was, well, let's just say that was a dense workout. It did not require a million sets. And that starter set with the with those heavy bent over rows, that was too much. I just wanted to throw some weight around just kind of because. If I did another set of that seated cable row to start the same way, would have been the exact same result. Honestly, I was about to say if not better, but it probably wouldn't have been that much better, right? Because if you still get it with a set, I mean, you know, it's gonna work all the freaking same. But let's actually see how we're looking posed, not posed, but pumped up. So this is what I want to see. I'm not pumped. Oh no, what I'm saying, I'm not posing, but just kind of tightening up my shirt and standing, like completely relaxed, is just showing off different little details of back, like lower erectors popping out, lats, a little bit of those freaking, you know, kind of internal rhomboids. That's what I want to see. So let's see how we're looking uncovered. Actual freaking pump reveal. All right, so let's make sure we're right in the center. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. Yeah, that was a good one. A little later than necessarily ideal, but no. Pumped to shit. Now I only got one thing to do. Get back in the car, go eat something, and get some freaking sleep. So, let's get out of here. All right, so very good lift, but so when I got here, I parked, and I backed in like a total, parallel parking isn't that cool. I was about to say like a baller, as if that was fucking, well, whatever. I get into like the tiniest freaking spot possible, and now it would seem someone thought it was an interesting idea to simply park directly in front of me with about 3 inches of space, you know. And you might say 3 inches, well, it's not a ton, and guess what, in this case it's freaking not, you know. So that's not awesome for me, but oh, that guy's helped me out. Thank you. I got it. Didn't even bump into nothing. But now time to return, time to freaking, about to say reap the rewards, but is that even the right way to put it? Well, either way, the workout is complete. My back is freaking pumped. And out of all of those movements, my favorite one was, without a doubt, that inclined bench set up a few feet away from the cable stack with 2 D handles. Normally, I like the D handles to be a little bit longer, but actually those shorter ones today felt freaking sweet. So the basic logic there is, obviously a big lat stretch in the bottom into more of a mid-back kind of squeezing row. It's not just a pull down where you're pulling straight down. I'm still kind of pulling back and up just a touch. But something about that action, it's, because it's not just a regular, like, row, like the seated close grip V-bar rows that I was doing before. It's a little extra fancy because it's just, like, it's given me this feeling as though I'm pulling my arms around my body and then I'm pulling them in towards each other. So it's like, instead of I'd almost compare it to, instead of doing a regular push down, now it's essentially the equivalent of doing like a push down, or what do I say, not a push down, but like a rope extension versus a standard push down, because now, instead of just that sort of one-dimensional pressing action, you got a little bit of extra, like, sideways squeezing too. So if your back days are a little bit, repetitive, mainly with very just linear movements, nothing super kind of flashy, I think it might be in your best interest to add in at least a few sets that are a bit more, kind of free motion-y. The cables is a good way to do that. Honestly, dumbbells, I'm not such a big fan of, purely because they're still pretty linear, because the force is always just going straight down. And when you use a cable, you can kind of get that extra, like, squeezingness of it, if you kind of follow me. That's kind of a weird way to put it. I have to turn around. There's a freaking train over there. But, I think that was probably, or not was, but probably is one of my favorite back movements out of everything. Out of pullovers, out of rows, out of bent over whatever, out of cables. I think that's at least one of mine that I really like. And my favorite part of it isn't even the fact that it's like just, heavy. You can load it up. You're strong in that movement. But the special part is definitely the squeeze, because, imagine your lats, right? You got this big ass chunk of lat, kind of triangular shaped, like here, if you imagine, right? Like this is your armpit, this is your mid back, this is your other lat, like that. And there's just a little something extra about that squeeze in the bottom from that style of movement versus a regular pull down. Because with a regular, like, barbelly looking pull down, the fact that the bar is just so, like, it's so rigid. I don't know if it's maybe the rigidity or whatever, but for me, it always ends up getting me, kind of feeling my upper lats a little more, like right where they insert above, kind of close to my armpit and tricep, which is fine. I mean, that's a good set. Some of those sets I actually like that. But then there's also the ones where it's a little bit more just deep, right? Like a bent over dumbbell row, much deeper in the lats, and that cable row, kind of the half row, half pull down, that is super deep lats. Like I'm feeling the inside of my lat right where it kind of connects to my, what's the word? Like my erectors, which is, the muscle that make up that kind of Christmas tree looking thing. And I think that, it's kind of obvious, like this isn't a groundbreaking thing to say, but when it comes to kind of almost my own guarantee that I'm that I'm actually hitting every part of every muscle, well then just being able to feel every part of it getting worked like that is a pretty good indicator for me. I think some may disagree. Some may say that feeling might not matter. You just have to do movements that load everything appropriately, which I think is kind of a weird analogous looking take. Like it's so like that's not something I think you can just totally outright textbook, or like kind of simplify. So whether or not someone says that this row, and this pull down is like the perfect combination of movements, well, can I really feel it in every part, right? Like, I can do two different movements for chest, incline something or other, and then maybe some more flat, like flies or squeezing presses. And at the end of it, you know, if I can tell that I really hit my upper chest and I can still feel my whole chest worked and, you know, is reasonably, if not like superbly pumped and worked, well, then I think that those two movements ended up fine, right? So it's as though you're trying to grade someone's art project on, like, you know, line work, creativity, meaning, blah. Like, it has to have all these three things. When really, you know, I don't think you have to boil it down that hard. I don't think it has to be so specific. Obviously, I want my workouts to work. It's literally in the name. Like, I want it to work out so that I can actually make gains and grow. But, you know, sometimes I get a little, and I think everybody kind of gets like this, just a little perturbed by not exactly what people do, because honestly, that shouldn't really bother you too much, but by what people say that you should do. Or like when people make really strong assertions that their way is right and your way is wrong, and you're a freaking idiot for thinking that way is right. I mean, let's just put it simple. What a dick. Like, that's just not even, you know, and that's just a weird thing of like trying to one-up the other guy. But instead of one-upping them by having bigger biceps, you're trying to do a brain flex, you know, of like, well, you know, this, I'm doing 3 sagittal rows and then 4 Jacob Sartorius rows tomorrow, but come on, not cool. But that's just one lifter's opinion, and don't take it as anything more than that. You know, this is we want an open dialogue here. But that's all I got for tonight. There was only one, well, no, that's not true. There were a couple girls in there too. There's like 4 people getting after it tonight. And just driving around this city, there are, I don't know how many thousand out, you know, on the town. Not as though that's a problem, but I'm saying, did they kill it today? Did they get a badass workout today? Do they even care about getting a badass workout? You know, just questions. Just questions. I'm not nothing else attached to them. But that's all I got. So, plan for tomorrow with arms is to get them as pumped as, if not humanly possible, at least personally possible. Keep dieting down, get my cardio done in the morning, and then that'll be it. So, I guess that's all I got, man. I'll see you tomorrow.